Hey everybody, Brad Ross here from MakeMagicMoney.com, and welcome to this evening's webinar, Fundraising Magic Reinvented. I am so excited to be welcoming our guest on this evening onto the MakeMagicMoney.com and the Magic Marketing Center webinar series. We are going to do a quick little audio check, make sure you guys can in fact hear me before we officially dive right in here. Hey, we've got Terry here, and Terry says audio is good, screen is clear, excellent. And question from Craig. Craig says, will tonight be able to be downloaded? Yes, you will be able to download this. Not download it, but you'll be able to view the replay of this afterwards. We'll be getting this posted tomorrow for folks that couldn't join us here tonight because we are expecting a very filled call here. I see Dean says, hey, we got Dino in Reno, I think that is. He says, yeah, you can hear me nice and good. We got Blair Marshall from up there in Canada. Ken is here, says, up sounds good. We got Rick, says, sounds good, look good. All right. And Scott says, loud and clear, awesome. Danny Hamill, got quite a few Canadians joining us here this evening. Welcome to you guys. Welcome to everybody. Yes, we've got Steve all the way down in New Zealand. Awesome, my friend. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Glad to hear I'm coming in nice and loud down there in New Zealand. Jason Purdy, hey man, how you doing? You were on with us last week on our webinar, so he says everything's sounding good. Alan is here, Robert is here, John Dudley from Michigan, Craig McKee, Andrew Turner, awesome, working well on the West Coast. That's what we like to hear. Good, good, good. Well, we are going to dive in here, my friends, and we are going to welcome our guest. Our guest this evening is a gentleman that I am very happy to call a friend and a colleague in this incredible business of ours of magic and entertainment. And for the past 35 years, he just told me this is his 35th year doing fundraising magic shows, living the dream, performing day in and day out as a magician and an illusionist. What a career he has had, and he is not stopping anytime soon. So without further ado, we are going to welcome our friend, Mr. John Kaplan. How you doing tonight, my friend?
I'm doing well, Brad. It's good to hear you, and thank you for inviting me to do this.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a while since we've gotten to do one of these. Quite a few years, I think.
That's right. I know that we first met, I think it was at Jack Turk's conference in Chicago, and we've seen each other at a few of the Kadabra conferences, Magic Live, and now through the magic of technology, we get to do it through the internet.
There you go. And actually, though, you and I, we didn't meet face to face until Jack Turk's. You're correct about that. But you and I met virtually, or I guess back in those days, printedly, through your course, which I had gotten when I joined the Dave D School of Marketing back in the late '90s, early 2000s, and I had through Dave D, I had purchased your course, and man, what a big game changer it was for me, because at that time in those early 2000s, I was dreaming of being an illusionist and working on stage, but really having no idea of how to get started doing some bigger stage work. And I got your course and got my feet wet in the world of stage magic through doing fundraising magic shows, which is why I hold this topic so near and dear to my heart, because it's really how I got my start.
That's awesome, Brad. That's what I discovered when I was, basically your age, getting going in the business, is that there really weren't a lot of places for a big illusion show to work. And of course, I was inspired by seeing Doug Henning on television with his big illusion show. So me and everybody else in the '70s all wanted to be Doug Henning with that kind of a show. And you could do the occasional theater gig and fairs or festivals, but there really weren't a whole lot of long-term opportunities. And suddenly I kind of discovered the fundraising angle. Actually, it was a school that had hired me back in about 1980, or actually probably a little before, had hired me to do a show for them as a fundraiser for their school. And I had a couple of illusions. I had a zigzag and a sub trunk, and I had maybe an hour's worth of material that I could present. So I said sure. And so we got together on that, did the show. They had a huge turnout, a very successful event. And I thought to myself after that, hey, there's a market here. These guys, figured it out. I should be able to market myself to schools and do fundraisers for schools. So that was the aha moment for me, and off I went, promoting myself to the local area schools in Calgary, where I grew up. And so the next show that I got was through my own marketing efforts. I managed to get a fundraiser, and as successful as the first one had been, the second one was pretty much a disaster.
Oh my gosh.
People weren't in the seats. The sponsor didn't make any money, and it was a real wake-up call, because what I hadn't realized until going through that experience is that the first group that had undertaken this and had actually contacted me, they knew what they were doing. They had a group of team players and organizers that really were on the ball. But the second group, they needed guidance, and so that's when I started putting together a program, a system that that groups could follow, so that they could all be successful with the event, regardless of their experience in hosting events and so on. And I just realized that it was up to me. I'm in show business, they're not. It's up to me to provide them with the tools that they would need to I mean, I've graduated, many years ago from just doing school fundraisers to creating a system that's been universally adaptable to pretty much any type of community group that you can name: service clubs, youth groups, foundations, health organizations, all kinds of things in the community that now that I have the system developed, any group can virtually take it on and be successful with it. It's not just limited to schools. So that opened up the market big time for me.
Yeah, yeah. And before we even get into the nitty-gritty details of this, I know we've got quite a few people joining us here tonight that are not magicians, and we have subscribers at the Make Magic Money that are in the world of all kinds of variety arts: jugglers, hypnotists, clowns, so on and so forth, puppeteers, ventriloquists. The great thing about what you've developed is that it's not limited to just magicians. In fact, it can work very well for other markets, and I know that's something that you'll talk a little bit more on when we actually get into the nuts and bolts. So take us into the world of John Kaplan's fundraising magic.
Well, sure, Brad. As I say, I started this quite some time ago. Back in 1980 was my very first show, and I guess it wasn't until 2001 that I actually released my system to other entertainers that could take advantage of the opportunity that the fundraising magic, market offered to them. So I had about 20 years experience before I even, kind of let the cat out of the bag, I guess, as to how the program worked. So the original course, the original system was released to magicians and other entertainers back in 2001, and in celebration of my 35th anniversary of performing fundraising magic shows, I updated the system. I have included a bunch of things that I've developed during the past decade or so, and put it into a new expanded edition of the program, and we're going to talk a little bit about that, as well as about the entire system itself and how it all evolved. Now, I told you already that I had been hired by a school to do a fundraising show. Gave me the incentive to market myself and promote that idea. I also picked up a book or a course actually from Stan Kramian, and learned about fundraising through his system as well. And it occurred to me, that there's really several ways you can do fundraising shows, and of course the Kramian system involved telemarketing. There's been other shows that have been hugely successful using that system. Murray Hatfield, for one, traveling across Canada for some 20 years or more. He wasn't promoting the telephone end of things. He was working for a promoter that was using that system, but it kept him going for a long time. The thing is, I never really wanted to get involved in telemarketing. Even back then, it had kind of a shadowy reputation. It seemed a little bit too much like a real job to me to run a phone room and have employees, and nobody really likes to be bothered by telephone calls. And now, of course, you've got all sorts of regulations against telemarketing. There's do not call lists. People have call display. Phones aren't getting answered like they used to. So for that reason, and many others, I never got involved with the telemarketing. I just didn't want any part of it. Now, the other way you can do fundraising shows, of course, is by offering a percentage arrangement to a sponsor, where you bring in the show, they provide the facility, you set the tickets 50-50 or 60-40 or however you want to do it. And once again, you can be successful with that to an extent. What I found, however, was that when there's a percentage option on the table, it really removes a lot of the incentive that sponsoring organizations have to be successful. Anytime there's a little roadblock, a hurdle, a committee member isn't doing something, there's a little glitch in dates or venues or something, rather than solve those problems, sponsors have a tendency to throw up their hands and say, well, okay, I guess we're just not going to make as much as we'd hoped or whatever. And that's all fine and well for them, but not so good for the guy who's got a cast of dancers and technicians and fuel bills and overhead costs of
Sure.
an illusion show, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So for that reason, I decided I didn't want to have my cart tied to someone else's horse, so percentage option wasn't really for me either. So I had to create a system that would allow me to do these fundraising shows, be successful, and have my sponsors be successful, but eliminate a lot of that guesswork and a lot of the hands-on work of running the event from my own shoulders. And what I was able to successfully create was a system that actually allows me to get corporate paychecks from financially challenged clients. These are folks that are coming to me to raise money. They don't have any money to pay me. They certainly don't have any money to buy a big illusion show, big expensive illusion show. So I had to develop a system that showed them how they could, in fact, do that and how it would work for them. And in developing the system, well, before I get into the system, I should explain one of the reasons that I got into doing these magic shows, these fundraising shows. You have to ask yourself, why would you want to do them? And I surveyed myself and basically put the top 5 answers on the board. First reason, they're highly profitable. I've been able to make a lot of good coin from my fundraising shows because I'm able to offer a larger show, because I have other ways of maximizing the revenues through these types of shows. I've found them to be very profitable, certainly more profitable in the long run for myself than doing, birthday party and daycare shows. I found them to be, high dollar vehicles. Also, there's a huge market. Back in the day when I was touring Canada, right from coast to coast, I had a database of over 20,000 prospects.
Oh my gosh, wow.
Yeah, I mean, it is a huge market. It's not going away anytime soon. You know that government funding is drying up for schools and other types of community organizations. These folks have to, find ways and means to keep their programs going. Kids are always, being born, growing up, going through the school system, sports, field trips, all that stuff. And communities are always, looking for funding for this project and that project. We have a lot of playground fundraisers have been going on up here in Canada lately, arena and ice rink building, that sort of thing. This market just doesn't go away, and it literally is. It is huge. It's also been a recession-proof kind of a way for me to make a living as a magician. I found that in good times and in bad times, people still look for fundraising opportunities. In fact, arguably, my market is bigger during a downed economy because folks are out there scrambling to get money for their various projects. So it's been great. It's been responsible for allowing me to run a career for this whole 35 years, and so that's been a huge advantage. The other thing that I've chosen fundraising shows for is because it's allowed me to choose my audience. I am a family entertainer. I love to work in front of an audience of mom and dad and the kids and the grandparents and the grandkids. And I mean, Brad, you work for Disney. You know that kind of market, right?
Mm-hmm, most definitely.
It's a lot of fun. And, as a guy with a family of his own, I mean, I can relate to that market. And so that's the market I prefer to work for. I used to do comedy clubs, used to do all that kind of stuff back in the early days, when you take pretty much any gig just to put bread on the table, right?
Mm-hmm,
And
mm-hmm.
it wasn't until, really targeting a niche like the fundraising market, that's when my success really developed. And finally, the satisfaction of doing the fundraising shows has been a big plus for me. I mean, I very much like the fact that at the end of the day, not only do our shows put smiles on kids' faces, but they also leave tangible results in communities that we visit. So, we're sending kids to camp or on field trips. We're putting playground equipment into school, computers equipment into schools, library books, all that kind of stuff. So it's very rewarding. I'm not a wealthy philanthropist. I can't write checks to these causes, but I can certainly do my part through my work, and so I'm able to give back to the community that way. And for me, it's all been about win-win, and so that's a huge degree of satisfaction that I get from my work, and that's one of the main reasons that I've chosen to stick with the fundraising game. So those are basically the reasons that I've chosen to do it, and if any of those reasons resonate with others, then I do definitely encourage them to take a good look at pursuing the fundraising market. You'll have a blast doing it, and the sense of reward is just huge. So now let's see how you're going to make a living at this. First of all, you got to find out who wants your show. And obviously, in the context of this webinar, we're not going to have time to focus on all the areas that I've developed in the kind of the system that I've put together for my business. But I can let you know what the areas are, and we're going to highlight a few of them. I've basically got a 5-point system that has made me able to do this and create a successful program. First of all is, identifying the market, finding, contacting, and selling the groups that need what you have to offer as a fundraising event. That's obviously a key. There's a whole component to that, which we're going to be talking about tonight. What you give to your sponsors to ensure their success. I mean, if you're not running the event yourself, you've got to give them the tools and the know-how so that they can grab the bull by the horns and have a highly successful event. Hugely important. Obviously, the communications that you have with your sponsors, how you book the shows, the contracting, all your follow-up. You just have to live about 35 years in this business, Brad, and then you find out all the mistakes. Know how to correct them before they happen. But usually there's a learning curve of making the mistakes and finding out what needs to be said. And I've got a kind of a funny story. I did a show in Ignace, Ontario, which is a little town. Some of our Canadian attendees on the webinar tonight may know where Ignace is, Northern Ontario. And I had booked this show for a service club called the Kinsman, and I had booked the show like I often do, some months ahead. And we're on the road, and generally, my plan is to get into a community about midday. First stop is, gas up the vehicle, go get some lunch somewhere, call a sponsor from our restaurant, let them know we're there, tee up when we're going to meet to unload and set up. So I get in and I pick up the phone and get the guy on the end of the line, and I said, well, we're here. And he says, oh, you're a bit early, aren't you? And I say, oh, well, we always like to get into town a few hours before we have to unload and set up. No, I mean, you're about a week early, aren't you?
Oh, my gosh.
And I've got the contract in my hand, because that's where the phone number was to call the guy, and I'm looking, I said, no, we're here on this day. It's right on the agreement. And there's a long pause at the end of the line. And then a few expletives came out of his mouth. And he said, hold on, I'll be there in a few minutes. He comes running over. Well, turns out the guy had put it on his calendar wrong initially when we had booked it. Because he's had to not only book the date with me, but he also had to book the date with the venue. And, back and forth with them, I guess he was a week out on his thing, and he never looked at the contract again. And back in those days, this does go back many years, back in those days, I didn't have the same amount of follow-up. I certainly didn't have email. It wasn't like constant communication with folks. So it was a real learning curve for me to realize that, there's got to be a lot, a lot more follow-up involved in these shows. And anyway, what happened was that somehow he rallied his wife to get out to the school and hand out flyers and let people know the show was going on. And we were a week earlier than he thought. The ice wasn't out of the arena where we were supposed to perform.
Wow.
Fortunately, they had a banquet room above the arena, so we schlepped everything up the stairs and we did the show in a much smaller banquet room. We packed the place and we had the show. And we ended up back at his place after a long and stressful day. We ended up back at his place for kind of an after party with the group. And you walk into the kitchen, and you could see where time had suddenly stopped that guy's wife. There was a bowl of raw cookie batter with a wooden spoon still sticking in it. Know that that's what she was doing when she got that phone call somehow.
Wow.
So those are the little lessons you learn along the way, and that's why the booking and the sponsor communications of things are so important. And at least I ended up with a funny story out of it. But
Most
also, my
definitely.
sponsors have ended up with a much smoother running system, and we haven't had that kind of an issue again.
Yeah.
Another thing, of course, that you have to focus on when you're putting together a fundraising program is your show and what it is and how it has to be a standalone event fundraiser. Now, I personally do a 90-minute illusion show. There's people that have invested in my fundraising magic system that are not illusionists, don't necessarily have that kind of show. We've got, I've had mentalists, hypnotists, puppeteers, musicians, singers, all sorts of different groups, theater groups use it. I've had variety performers use it, where rather than putting on a whole 90-minute show, of 2 or 3 folks will get together and, kind of put on a variety package in that sense. But you have to have something that's capable of being a standalone event fundraiser. So I've identified a lot of the things that the show needs to have. And finally, of course, and very importantly, are the various ways that you can maximize your profits from doing these shows. It's not just in the ticket sales for the sponsors, and it's not just in the performance salary for the performers. So that's basically the 5 components of the system that I identified as being the most important and spent a lot of time on developing. And as I say, obviously don't have time to get into detail and depth on every single aspect here. But we'll talk about a few of the things. We'll just talk about the market. These are the folks that possibly have a need for a fundraising event, possibly
Mm-hmm.
need for what you offer as an event fundraiser. So the idea is you've got to determine who that market is. You've got to find those folks, contact them, get them to put out their hands, those that are interested, and then of course close the sale. So there's different ways of finding the markets. Different markets exist. In my case, I started with schools, and certainly there's all kinds of information you can get through school boards. You can get information on local community groups through municipalities. Chambers of commerce are excellent sources of what's going on in the community, what projects are being undertaken, what initiatives are happening. Service club directories, these can be hard to obtain, especially if you're not a member, but I have, over the years, been able to do that through my association with various groups. I've had groups hand me dated, directories. Maybe they're a year old or something. They're going to get a new one anyway. Here's an extra copy. Go ahead. And of course, nowadays you can get a lot of this information online through the internet. And there's always our favorite old standby is the library. There's just dozens of sources to get the information on the types of groups that can use your services. If you go to parks and recreation, like recreation centers, you'll find that most of them put out brochures that talk about their recreational programs for the spring, the fall, the summer, and many of those directories have listings of the community groups that utilize the facilities and that are in the area. So those are also great sources of contacting, connecting up with the types of folks that can use your service. So once you've got a database, a pool of prospects, people that can work with your fundraising event, then you've got to contact them. And I use all sorts of different ways. I use flyers, I use magazine ads and articles, broadcast, fax, email marketing, Google AdWords. I have a website, of course, a Facebook fan page. I'm using YouTube videos now. And of course, my old standby favorite still works for me 100%, and that is direct mail. And I thought for the purpose of this webinar, Brad, I would walk you guys through one of my mailing pieces, and in this case it's this postcard, and just sort of highlight some of the things that I feel are important when you're promoting your fundraising show, what you're actually selling, and how you have to position yourself.
Definitely love that.
To prospect, right?
Yep.
Because you got to remember you're not really competing with other magicians in this market. You're not competing with other entertainers. You're basically competing with every single possible fundraising opportunity that a group could use. That's your competition. It's all the other fundraising options out there. So you're going to see through this little sample mailer here is how I've kind of positioned myself to compete in that arena. This is the address side of the postcard. I like postcards because they can be done very cheaply. You can get great prices on full color ad mail postcards. This one uses basically an eye-catching graphic to grab some attention. There's a word balloon that kind of highlights one of the big benefits of the show. I'll be turning family fun into thousands of dollars for these groups this year with my fundraising magic program. Well, these groups, of course, are listed over here, and I always like to do this in a lot of my marketing is to show folks who I'm already working for, and many of these are repeat clients, some of them multiple repeats, and I just feel that it provides and establishes instant credibility. I mean, for most people, the idea of a magic show as a fundraiser doesn't occur to them. It kind of comes out of left field. They're used to other things, raffles and selling chocolates and that sort of thing. So the idea of a magic show is a fairly new concept to a lot of these volunteer groups. And this is sort of more reassuring, as I say, instant credibility, safety in numbers. They see there's other groups that are working with this program, so it has a perception of immediate viability. This is a call to action, or a direct attention to the call to action, which is down here on the lower left. There's the contact methods. I've got an 800 number for voice messaging. I've got my website. And, of course, everything's done through mail merge, so I can personalize each of these things. Matter of fact, I can also personalize what's put into those word balloons through the mail merge program. So rather than, say, find out how your school can join these other groups, it could say find out how your Boy Scout troop can join them, or find out how your group can join them, and so on. So you can personalize all these things through the magic of mail merge technology. So that's what the address side of the postcard looks. You can also see in the top right-hand corner is the postal indicia. That's so you get a really good postal rate on postcard ad mail. Now on the back of the card, or this is more the main sales side of the card, you'll notice a number of caption photos and a big headline that basically this is the prime message. This is all marketing 101, folks. This is where you want to state the major benefits and position yourself and get folks to take a look at it and say, yeah, I want to learn more. And that really is the only job this piece is supposed to do, is get them to request more information, get them to put their hand up and say, yeah, I'm interested, tell me more. So I'm going to break this down. Every word is important, and I'll break it down and kind of outline exactly how I've chosen the wording and why I've done it. First part of this headline says, why spend countless hours? Now, most of these folks are volunteers. Parents that are part of their school PAC or PTA, or parents of kids that happen to be on the local soccer team, right? They are fundraising not because they love to be fundraising. They're fundraising because their kid needs a jersey to be on the soccer team, or the coach needs to be paid, or their school needs playground equipment. That's why they're fundraising, not because they want to be. And many of these folks, of course, are not professional fundraisers. So the last thing that they need to do in their busy lives is to spend countless hours on fundraising. So right away, I'm putting myself on the same side of the table as them. I know their problems and their fears and their concerns. They don't want to spend countless hours fundraising. So that's where that wording comes in. Why spend countless hours pushing parents to support your fundraising by buying stuff they don't want or need? What I've done with that bit of the text is, as I said, I'm competing with a lot of other things. I'm competing with things like cookie dough sales and entertainment books and stickies and chocolate bars and raffles. And I want to throw all those other options into the most negative light that I can so that it positions my option as being superior or more user-friendly to them. Pushing parents to support your fundraising by buying stuff they don't want or need. Nobody wants to buy stuff they don't want or need. Nobody wants to push other people to buy it. So again, I'm on their side of the table, and I'm throwing all these other options into a more negative light, which is carried through with the next line, or any of the usual run-of-the-mill fundraisers every other group is doing. So once again, usual run-of-the-mill fundraisers, throwing these other options into a negative light. And every other group is doing reminds folks that they're not the only ones out there with their hands out hoping to get funding for their various, their cause or their initiative. There's other people in line too, and they have to not be doing what everyone else is doing. They have to rise above that. So that's the purpose of that wording there. When you can have Canada's favorite family magic show. Okay, so that's a self-bestowed title. Does Houdini call himself the king of cards?
Exactly.
Or the world's greatest escape artist? I'm pretty sure he came up with the tagline himself, and this is nothing new. This is, again, marketing 101. It's just a self-bestowed title, and you might as well grab it before someone else does, right? Actually, I feel fairly justified in using that line. Couple of reasons for that. I've been touring Canada now for 35 years. I've covered this country coast to coast many, many times. Performed thousands of shows in over 500 distinct Canadian communities. So as far as a Canadian performer, I guess I'm about as Canadian as I can get. And I also had a wonderful comment from a gal who hired me to perform at a theater for part of her children's series some years back, and she came up. I was actually a fill-in for a guy that canceled, and so she didn't know anything about me, and she came up to me after the show and said, "That was the best family magic show I've seen in the past 10 years." So I feel kind of justified in putting together that self-bestowed title, and I think it creates a nice positive image for the show. I am working for groups that are heavily involved in the family market, so I want to be positioned right in line with the family market. Raise thousands of dollars for your school, or in a mail merge situation, I might say for your group. Well, there's a huge benefit, and that has to be stated in that headline. Raise thousands of dollars for your school. That's what they want. They want to make money. That's why they're looking for fundraisers. With a fun and exciting one-day event, fun and exciting, warm fuzzy, good buzzwords, one-day event, once again implies that they're not going to have to spend countless hours doing this thing. It can be done, in a one-day event. But builds family memories, again, another benefit, and warm fuzzy, and we'll have your entire community thanking you. Again, that came directly from the mouths of some of the sponsors that I've worked with over the years. One group came up to me one time and said that's the first time that they ever had parents thanking them for any fundraiser that they ever put on. So
wow,
that's why that's in there. And again, it stresses the benefit and the positive nature of everything. And below all this copy is captioned photos, and I have a system for gathering all this, but it quantifies everything. This group here, these photos are pictures of myself, my cast, my crew, and all the volunteers that worked with us on the day of the show. So we always get together for a cast photo, and you can see that these folks raised over $12,000 with the show. I've got a direct quote from the organizer. She's named who the group was, where they are, and that is high credibility. And of course, I have a number of those. Since I've been doing this so long, I really rely heavily on testimonials to promote my show. I'm a big believer that what others say about you carries a lot more weight than what you say about yourself. So as powerful as that self-written headline may be, I need it to be backed up by proof, and there's the proof right below it, all those caption photos. There's the contact mechanism, is the website, and then over here I've got the Better Business Bureau logo, which I was a member of for many, many years. Again, it's a credibility building factor. I mean, there's lots of entertainers out there. People can sometimes be wary of fly-by-nighters and so on, and how do you know this guy's any good, or what his business practices are like, and that sort of thing. So by becoming a Better Business Bureau member, I was able to incorporate their logo on pretty much all my advertising pieces, and again, that provides some confidence on the end of the consumer, as well as instant credibility when they see it. So that's one advertising tool that I've used, that postcard, and I've used it to highlight, sort of the ways in which I've positioned myself and how I've promoted myself to these groups. Now that I've got someone to say, yeah, I'm interested, put up their hand, tell me more, they get this full sales package, explains all the nuts and bolts, and now I've got a huge promise that I have to live up to. I have to deliver on the promise that my program is going to turn family fun into thousands of dollars for their group. Well, that's another part of the system, and that's a really important part. You want to be able to, if you're selling a fundraising opportunity, you want to be able to follow through with that. And the way I've been able to do it is by creating a project kit that my sponsors get in advance of the show that shows them exactly how to do it, gives them all the tools they need, and makes it easy for them to follow through and run this event. And what I've done, and this is what you need to do if you're going to be doing this sort of thing for groups as a fundraiser, you've got to be able to provide them with a very easy plan that they can follow to be successful. You've got to make sure that in that plan, everything is in there that they need, all the tools, all the know-how. It's got to be easy for them to work with, very user-friendly, something that even the first-time event coordinator can use. And that's where I developed my program from that perspective, that these folks have never done anything like this before. I'm supposedly the expert. I want to take them by the hand and lead them all the way through the event, regardless of what their experience level is. I want to make it simple for them, and that's why I do it as a step-by-step thing that they can simply fill in the blanks, connect the dots, and be successful. Also in this project kit, and this is something else that you need to do, is to be able to give them tools not only to promote the event, but to be able to maximize their earnings with the event. And if you do all that, you should also be able to guarantee their results. And that's what it's all about. So in terms of what the plan is that I give to my sponsors, they get everything in a binder. They get basically a number of booklets. The first one covers all the organizing part of the program. It takes them by the hand from their very first meeting right through until the day of the show, gives them a complete guide to follow, shows them what to do, when to do it. All the advertising tools that I include in the kit are explained in this little booklet. So they pick something up, don't know what it is, they just have to read through it in here, and it'll tell them what that tool is for and how to use it. In addition to the tools that I provide, I also give them a couple dozen no-cost and low-cost ways to promote their show. I tell them how to sell tickets. A lot of them are afraid of having to go and sell tickets. I give them a dozen proven ticket sales strategies, everything from being able to sell tickets onesie, twosie to selling blocks of tickets at a time. And in terms of maximizing their profits, I've created quite a number actually, 3 dozen or so piggyback fundraisers. And I also provide them with some real-life samples of things that other groups have done that have added to their success, as well as a final booklet. And this goes back to the sponsor communications end of things. The day of the show, everything is broken down hour by hour, what they can expect on show day, how the day is going to run so that they can have a nice, smooth running event. That's the package that I give them. It's a fabulous resource for them, and I get no end of compliments on this from the groups that I work for. And that's why these groups are raising the kind of dollars that they have been consistently with the program. So some of the tools that I give them, of course, I give them posters for the show, 50 full-color posters. I give them a bunch of flyers, a black and white poster done up as a flyer, various different flyers, puzzles, party promotions, and so on, a couple dozen flyers. Ticket request forms is great for the school sponsor. It's got some really good marketing things built into it. This is designed to be taken home with kids, to their parents, clip and return section at the bottom. A few of the things you can see in that flyer. Headline, we're expecting a sellout. Right away, you're telling folks this is going to be a well-attended event. Don't let your children miss their chance. So fear of failure, you want to hit the parents there. Don't want their kids to miss out on anything. There's ticket prices. We have some suggested ticket prices on this form, and I actually let my sponsors set their ticket prices at whatever they want. That's another way that this thing is so user-friendly, because every community is a little different in terms of its dynamics. So they can pick, set and choose their tickets. One thing I encourage them to do is to have a family pass and have an advance rate that saves families more than just $1 or $2 off the door price, because this really does help sell those advance tickets. There's an expiry date on when those advance tickets are available to, so that pushes people to act rather than procrastinate. There's also a limited number. Again, another incentive to get folks to act on this rather than delaying their thing. And this type of a form, a flyer that they've used in the school system has been absolutely amazing. The results have been fantastic. We give them camera-ready spot ads for newspapers, little mini flyers, newsletters, that sort of thing, web pages. They get press releases, press reviews. I give them a radio commercial, a DVD, like a video or movie type trailer preview of the show. A lot of these tools have multiple uses for sponsors now. Some of the groups that I work for are in small towns. They do have access to their local radio station, and it's affordable and targeted for them to use it. Others are maybe in a big center like Vancouver, where there's a lot of huge population base, a lot of different media outlets, highly expensive. There's no way they're going to buy radio time, but they can still use things like this audio commercial, like as a telephone line answering thing. They can broadcast it over school PAs. I've seen them use it on websites, web pages. I've seen them use it on at flea markets, community centers, skating rinks where they broadcast it. Same thing with the TV commercial. They're probably not going to buy television advertising time, but they can use the DVD in multiple different areas. And of course, my materials that they get explain to them all these different uses that they can use. I give them samples of our souvenir items, things like magic sets and DVDs. Not only do they get the sample that they can use as a door prize or that sort of thing, but they can use it to market the show as a promotional tool to introduce people to the magician who's coming. They can use it as an incentive to whoever sells the most tickets. So there's multiple uses for that. Give them coloring pages, very cost-effective way for them to get the word out, especially to the target market. I call it the ice cream truck syndrome. It's not the, when the ice cream truck comes sailing through the neighborhood and you hear the music, it's not the parents dragging the kids out to the truck. It's exactly the other way around. And that's what you want to do with a show like this, marketing into the hands of the market, the people that are most likely going to want to come. And that, of course, in my situation, are the kids. So very cost-effective way for them to use that. There's, science magic, math magic tools, so they can get buy-in from the school. The sidebar has information on the event coming up. Oh yeah, the saw in half thing. Now this was something that I developed many, many years ago. I was doing, and I still use this one, and I have several others that I use, so I can rotate them and do different things for different groups, different shows. I have a Harbin portable visible sawing, and this is one of those you can use anybody from the audience. So I discovered years ago that if the sponsor could pre-select this individual and advertise who it was going to be sawn in half at the show, it would really help sell tickets, especially if they got the right person. So the idea behind this little poster flyer is that the face of the celebrity volunteer is superimposed behind the bars of that photo, and they can market it that way. And that's turned out to be huge. Great way for them to promote their event. And now with the expanded edition, I mean, in the last bunch of years, I've developed Facebook and other social media techniques for my sponsors. So I show them how to create the pages, I show them how to promote it, and I also give them content to feed into their social media marketing so that they can continually update their event pages. They can continually get blast out to their people, show them how to put them together into things like Facebook and Twitter, and give them all the content that they need. So that's what's involved with the social media now that I'm providing to groups. And in addition to the tools that show the groups and take them by the hand and make it possible for them to properly promote the event, I have developed a number of ways for them to maximize their earnings. And this has been a huge part of the success of this program. Gone are the days when you can simply buy a show, sell tickets, and make all your money from the ticket sales. In fact, it's hard to do that now. And by putting the different piggyback fundraisers in place, this opens their eyes to all the different ways that they can make money with their event over and beyond ticket sales. In fact, I've had groups be making money, making a profit with their event before they've even sold a single ticket. So we'll talk about 2 or 3 of the ones that I've been using very successfully. The very first one I started with was the souvenir show program. This was first thing I put in. Obviously, you have an event, you go to a play or what have you. You generally have an opportunity to buy, or you're given a show program, and I give my sponsors all the tools that they need to print a souvenir program and provide advertising in it. Another really great strategy that was developed by one of my sponsors was this newspaper promotion strategy, where basically they've got a full page ad for the show in their community newspaper, and that ad has been paid for by all these businesses in the community. Not only is it paid for, but they actually made a profit. Saw in half contest. So going back to the saw in half illusion that so many groups have been working with to promote the show, I turned it into a pledge contest. And the way this came about was I was doing a show in a little community called Tumbler Ridge, British Columbia, a little northern town, a mining town, working for the Boy Scouts. And I asked them, as I often do, I asked them, what other fundraisers do they do? And the guy told me, well, we do the Kiss a Pig. And I said, pardon? As I'm a city boy, I didn't know what he was talking about. He said, yeah, well, every couple of years we get we have a bunch of different people in our community, and we have a pledge to elect which of them must kiss a live pig full on the lips. And he said that they made a couple grand every time they did it. And I thought, boy, that's something I can adapt. And instantly I adapted it to my saw in half illusion. So now, instead of simply promoting the idea of a local celebrity is going to get sawn in half at the event, they could also make money with that by turning it into a pledge contest. And I've had groups raise thousands of dollars simply with the pledge contest alone. So another great example of a piggyback fundraiser. And the good takeaway from that is, don't be afraid to talk to your groups and ask them what else they're doing. You never know what kind of information you're going to get and how you might be able to adapt it. I also do the metamorphosis illusion in the show. It's our standard closer, and the way this prop is designed is that once it's closed and locked, there's no way to find the secret. So I realized that means I could put this thing on display in the lobby at my shows, and there could be a prize package locked inside this trunk that could then be turned into a raffle or door prize opportunity for the sponsors of my show. Win the contents of Houdini's mystery trunk. So it's kind of like a raffle, but it's a little more exciting than a raffle because it ties directly in with the show, uses one of the props that they're going to see on stage later. And again, this is the kind of thing that sponsors have run with. They've put these packages together. They've sold their tickets, and they've made hundreds, if not even thousands, of extra dollars at their events. Okay, so that's the one I was talking about, is how they could turn that into a raffle situation. And of course, lots of sponsors do take advantage of that. And I was about to go into, and I think this was one of the questions in terms of pricing and guaranteeing
pricing. And we've had a couple people asking about pricing and how you structure that, because there is a lot of questioning in the world out there about in our industry, the magic world and entertainment variety world. Do you do a 50-50 ticket split? With no risk to anyone. But then if if they don't sell the tickets, then you're SOL. You're up a certain creek without a paddle.
Exactly. And if you're just a one-man one-man show, maybe you can afford to take that risk. But if you've got a cast of several and other expenses that are involved in running an illusion show, maybe you've got a truck payment due every month. You know, those sorts of things, you really can't afford to take that kind of risk. And so that's why I sell my show based on a flat rate. And when I structure the pricing, I do it in a way that makes my groups feel comfortable. Obviously, you're not going to sell every client every time. That's a given. And some people will decide, you know, for whatever reason, and there could be a number of reasons, which I actually do cover in the course, the different objections that you will find as a salesman of a fundraising magic event. But I was going to walk you through now the pricing system that I use. And basically, when I'm in a presentation with a group and I've gone through the project kit and explained to them how the system works and opened their eyes to the fact that they're not relying just on ticket sales to make money, and that they are given a plan to follow so they don't have to guess or figure it out along the way. It's all there for them. Once they're comfortable with that, then it's time to let them know how much their investment is going to be. Now, the project kit that I provide them with all the tools, I value at $250. I make that with a money-back guarantee, in that they will earn back every dime they pay me, including the cost of the show, or that $250 is refunded. I stand behind my project kit. I know if they follow it, they're going to do okay with the event. I also let them know that in the real world, the corporate market, the fairs and festivals, a show like mine, a 90-minute stage illusion show where we bring in all the gear, the lights, the sound, the backdrops, and everything, is generally priced between $4,000 and $8,000, depending whether it's one show, two shows, whether it's a big grandstand show or what have you. However, I do offer the groups that are looking to me as a fundraiser, I have a nonprofit rate, which is $2,900 for one show, $3,400 for two shows. So the second show is only $500 more because we're already there, we're already set up. I'm paying my cast for another, 3 hours, maybe 4 hours of time that day, versus having to hire them for another full 8-hour call day. And I'm not losing another day to another potential booking, because we're doing the two shows like a matinee and an evening on the same day. So that's how I'm able to absorb that price reduction and pass it on to them. And it doubles their opportunity through ticket sales and other revenue sources. It doubles their potential for profit. So after they've seen the system and how it works and how all the different ways they can make money with it, they can look at that and say, we can probably afford the show, but we want to make money too. And so I've had to become fairly creative over the years to, allow my groups to further reduce their investments so that they can maximize their profits. And one of the reductions that I give them when I'm touring is if they can provide us with a couple of overnight, hotel or motel accommodations for overnight for my 4 cast members, then they earn a $200 rate reduction. And then I show them in the kit how they can get that room for no cost or half price or whatever. So that can actually turn into dollars in their pocket. I also offer a $450 rate reduction if they provide us with an able-bodied team of volunteer helpers. I usually ask them for a minimum of 6. That means I don't have to hire a bunch of people to haul in some stuff and set up, and I can pass that rate reduction on to them. I also carry a full souvenir and refreshment concession. We have things like popcorn and cotton candy and drinks that we offer, as well as souvenir items like magic sets and balloon animals and trick card packs and that sort of thing. If we have exclusive concession rights at the event, and there's your back of the room sales, right? I offer them a rate reduction of $500. So if they take advantage of all the rate reductions, they can reduce their investment in the show by as much as $1,150, which brings their investment in the show down to $1,750 for one show, $2,250 for 2 shows. Now, if you're talking about a full-scale 90-minute illusion show, that is a bargain basement price. And of that, I only require $100 at the time of making the booking, And the balance of our show salary is not due until the day of the show. So once we've confirmed a booking with the group through a written confirmation along with the $100 deposit, they get the project kit, and the day they get the kit is the day they can start going out and making money with the show. So that's essentially the presentation that I use, and I also remind them of the various guarantees that I offer with the show. I have a triple guarantee. One of them, of course, is on the project kit. The other is on the show itself, and they also give them a guarantee on the whole package that they can have in their hands for a couple of weeks, go through it, make sure it's everything I've promised them, make sure they're happy with how it's laid out, make sure it's manageable for their group, and if they decide at any time during that period that it's just not for them, for whatever reason, they can return the project kit, they get their deposit back, and there's no risk or obligation to anybody. And that's exactly how I handle the pricing end of it. And that's how I'm able to sell my show for the rates that I want. I make up my reductions, certainly through the product sales and so on. Or if they decide to do their own concession, then they simply forego that particular rate reduction, and I make it at that end. So lots of different opportunities, and that's exactly how I do it. And by offering that kind of a guarantee and those kind of tools to groups, you can see where groups are able to consistently raise thousands of dollars with the fundraising event. I tell them that, most groups on average raise between $2,000 and $4,000. Many groups raise between, $5,000 and $8,000. And I've had groups that have raised as much as over $13,000
Wow.
for a single
Wow.
event. And it's great to have that credibility, because certainly that kind of testimonial does help you sell your show to new prospects. It certainly helps you get repeat bookings when you can do that kind of thing for a group. Obviously, you're not going to have that right out of the gate, but if you've got a system to follow, one that you haven't had to spend 35 years to develop, if you've got that as a starting point, it shouldn't take you too long to get to the other level.
Yeah, no, that's incredible. So, obviously everyone can see here, and by the way, we'll get to some other questions here in a few minutes. But obviously everyone can see this. This is not a system John assembled overnight. This is not these are not photoshopped pictures. This is not something that he's been at for a couple of months and he thinks it may work. Literally, he has been perfecting this for 35 years, and these images that you see, these are real organizations and groups that he has been working with, throughout Canada, and helping them raise this kind of money. And so obviously, taking the risk out of working with a group in your market, whatever that may be, with whatever your show may be, having this step-by-step system and plan all laid out is a virtual and a literal gold mine. And I remember when I had first gotten John's system back in the early 2000s, man, I was blown away, and it was just, the examples and seeing what he actually gives to his clients in terms of the project manual and how it's laid out, and how I could take that and apply it to my own market and the markets that I wanted to work with this fundraising show. My God, what a wealth of information and knowledge. And I think I've told John this before, but it bears repeating. It is one of my favorite marketing courses that I think I have ever invested in for the magic and entertainment world, because the wealth of knowledge that is in here, and that was even before, John, you had everything digital and all of these newer things that are in this expanded edition. And that was I think I got it, like I said, in the early 2000s, when it was still very, very new.
Yeah, no, that's right, and it remained largely unchanged except for the upgrade that I put out a couple of years following its initial release in 2001. Of course, I'm in the test kitchen. My job isn't selling courses. My job is doing these fundraising shows, and so I'm one of the guys that walks the walk. And if anybody wants to see what we're up to, just go to the schedule section on my fundraisingmagic.com website. You'll see where we're performing, who we're performing for. I always have that posted on my website.
Mm-hmm.
And well, as I say, we're just about to start our 35th. Well, we have started our 35th season with a show at Second Street School in Burnaby this past Saturday. And we're on the road in April for a nice sold-out 4-week tour of Western
Wow.
Canada, and
Wow.
that's what keeps my batteries charged is keeping the system going. So
So tell us about
it was
this,
high
because
time
we.
that it was updated, and so that because I've been doing in the test kitchen of these shows, I have
Mm-hmm.
been developing a lot of different strategies and
Sure.
techniques. So in the past 10 years, I decided to finally put all that down into an expanded edition, and I can tell you a little bit about what's included in
Yeah, take us through.
some of these.
We've had some people saying I'm sold already, and tell us where can we go to grab this system, and what's included in it. So take us through what is included with the because there's a couple different versions of this. There is the basic edition, the standard. There is the deluxe, and then for folks that have already purchased one of the fundraising, either standard or deluxe from years ago, you have just the upgrade edition. So take us through each of those. What's included?
Sure, exactly. Well, basically, the system that we've been discussing for the past hour or so is the core of the thing. In the expanded edition, I've added all of the social media marketing tools that I've used, things that I'm using to promote myself, as well as the tools that I'm giving to sponsors. That's included in the edition. I also put together the entire marketing archive, everything that I've used, every single tool that I have used in the past over a decade. Everything from email campaigns and broadcast fax templates, direct mailers, self-mailers, postcards, flyers, magazine ads, sales letters, phone scripts, Google ads, press releases. Everything that I've used since I released the course in 2001, which originally came with, a few samples of what I was using, I kept a record of them, and I compiled them into this absolutely mammoth marketing archive. There's over 500 real-world documents, the things that I've been using. That's all included in this expanded edition, every single thing that I've been using, as well as the autoresponder messages. Now, Brad, you and I are great fans and high users of the David Farr Amazing System. I use it all the time in my business, and the concept of the autoresponders, not only for marketing, but in being able to keep in touch and do the sponsor follow-up, has been a huge boon. And a number of years ago, I went to an autoresponder sequence that helped keep my sponsors on track, made sure they didn't miss any important details along the way. So there's a few dozen of those, all pre-written, that ever since I initiated those as little helping hands to my sponsors, I've seen the sponsor success rate skyrocket. More sponsors are being more successful with the event as a result of that. And it's like I'm on their shoulder throughout the entire event, making sure that they're handling the project properly. So that's all in there, all the messages that I've pre-written. I've also got a fun little offline Facebook promo strategy that I use on stage to promote my Facebook page to the audience that's in attendance of the show. There's a video of that in a program. I think you'll get a kick out of that. The Fundraising Magic upgrade that we mentioned a couple of times that I had put together a couple of years after the original course was released. That contained a bunch of new marketing materials, some new sponsor fundraising tools, the fail-safe percentage campaign strategy that I mentioned earlier tonight, amongst several other things, also a full day-in-the-life documentary DVD video of my own touring show. So we took a camcorder right across the country on a tour, and we edited it down into a day in the life. So you see everything that happens from the moment we wake up to the moment we pack up and go to bed.
And I got to tell you, that is what a great documentary that is. I remember, John, seeing that when you put out that upgrade, of course, because like I said, I bought it back in 2001, and as soon as you put out that upgrade, bam, I was right there, ready to get it. And man, what a great representation of really what it takes. Because that was before I ever had knew anything about touring on the road and what it would be like to bring in a show, and way before I had any experience with Disney or anything like that. And what a great documentary it was, just to see you again, a day in the life of what it takes, pulling up to the venues, unloading, the accommodations, everything from start to finish. It was that there alone, it's just such a fly on the wall experience, and it really is great.
Yeah, thanks, Brad. We really had a lot of fun putting that together, and even now I look back at it, and I mean, I know I'm still living it, but it's just fun to see it all condensed like that. The other thing that's in the new edition is I redid my video sales letter, and so I've included the newer edition of that. This is a thing that I send out to groups that I'm not able to get in front of to personally present this opportunity, and I just discovered years ago that I was basically selling to a committee, and I could do a great job of convincing one guy on the phone or whatever that this is a great opportunity for them, but then he would have to take it to his committee, and he would have to put all the same enthusiasm and experience and knowledge into convincing the rest of his team that this was a good idea. Well, you know how well that can go. You get the wrong guy, and it's impossible, really, for someone else to have the same level of commitment and conviction and enthusiasm. But you get the guy who's doing it in front of the entire group, well, then he can be a lot more convincing. So I put my personal face-to-face presentation basically onto DVD, so that now this guy can take that whole presentation, and I can be at that committee meeting through the video. And that's also been a great way for me to increase my my closing percentage on bookings for the fundraising show.
Mm-hmm.
So those are the 6 new components in the expanded edition, and that's what we've got. And as far as the breakdown, you're right. We have a couple of different options. The regular edition is $5.95. That's the whole package, and through this special webinar, you're giving them a discount. So am I. It's $4.95. I think that runs till Friday, and that's it. There's also a deluxe edition of the course. This includes the Night Magic program. Now, the Night Magic program itself sells for $6.95. What I did was I took my fundraising magic system, and believe me, this is a system. It can be adapted and applied to all sorts of different performance styles. And I adapted it for a performance of an hour of close-up strolling magic and maybe a 45-minute stand-up after banquet performance that a single performer can do. Because I also do those kinds of shows. And I turned it into a program called Night Magic. I turned it into a fundraiser that can be done on that basis. Didn't require a full touring illusion show, didn't require a 90-minute show. Still was able to offer it as a fundraising event. And you know something? The very first time we offered that, the first sponsor that booked it made $10,000 with their event.
Wow.
Yeah, and so what I did was I adapted everything in my system and applied it to that particular thing. And I believe, Brad, you invested in that program as well. You know that it came with camera-ready digital flyers, the poster design, everything all copyright-free.
Everything. I like to say that everything. First of all, I have everything that John has ever put out, and every single thing that he has ever put out has made the investment back tenfold, because I come from the school of thought, and I'm not BSing anybody here. This is those of you that have been followers of mine for a long time and know my my philosophies and kind of my teachings and the way I approach things is I'm a huge believer in the swipe file world, and if I can basically get an inspiration from what someone else is doing, and that saves me from having to literally reinvent the wheel, and that to me is worth every penny I paid, whether I pay $1 for it or I pay $2,000 for it. And that's always the thing with John's stuff, whether it was his fundraising or his night magic, your Halloween spooktacular, or the what was it, the Thrillusion show, Stage Fright, the Thrillusion show, his Magic of Christmas program, anything that John ever put out, it was gold to me, because I could see what a real working pro was utilizing, how he was laying everything out, and it would inspire me, and it would allow me to, in some cases, use the documents that were given to me, copyright-free documents. In other cases, it was just seeing what he was doing and figuring out how I could make it work for myself. And all of that, in and of itself is just, man, what a lifesaver, and what a gold mine you're sitting on when you don't have to go back and start from scratch. I mean, literally the prices that it costs to invest in these things, you sit down and try and create this stuff on your own, and we all talk about there's always only so much money to go around and so much that you can invest, and we all are working with budgets, of course, nowadays. But the thing that we can always make more of is money. The thing that we can never gain more of is time. And when you have something like this program, whether it's the basic edition or the deluxe edition that comes with his night magic, regardless of what it is that you end up going with, when you can sit down and save yourself the time by not having to stare at that blank computer screen or stare at a blank piece of paper in front of you trying to come up with ideas, so that you can literally get something out there, as Dave D used to say, good enough is good enough. You've got to get it out there and working. And as John said, he's in the field there. He's been out there. He's been trying and testing it. It's not to say that you shouldn't try and test things yourself and see what works for you, but what an amazing advantage to be able to leapfrog ahead and literally start with not just one or two ideas, but hundreds and hundreds of ideas, and you can just pick and choose which ones you want to develop and further work with. And that's what John's doing here. He's laying it all out completely for you.
Yeah, that's right, Brad. And I also want to say that I'm very proud of this the Night Magic program. Something just happened recently. Some of our attendees on the webinar may know the name Jacques Lesseur.
Mm-hmm.
He's a magician. Do you know Jacques?
Yes, yes.
Out in Cape Town, South Africa.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
He's been a prominent corporate magician for many years out there, performing for the people, the likes of Nelson Mandela and so on. And he has taken the Night Magic program and adapted it to his particular environment. And he has totally left the corporate world, and he's gone full-time into the fundraising shows.
Wow.
And I'm very proud that I was an inspiration to Jacques for doing this, and I'm very proud of what he's doing with it. He's a man after my own heart, and he's going to make a lot of money for a lot of groups over in South Africa, and he's loving it. It's So if anyone wants to find him on Facebook, they can, and talk to him about the program. I think he'd be a pretty good reference for.
And kind of tagging along to that, Joe Romano, who is a good friend of mine. I was chatting with him earlier today, and he was saying that he was wishing he could be on here with us this evening, but he had prior plans, and he had said, and I didn't even know that he had done this. I knew he had your Stage Fright program, and he had said that the reason he bought that program from you was because he wanted the marketing materials, the logo. He wanted all the stuff that you had already developed and spent the time on. Just that was what he wanted. He had a Halloween show already put together, but he just wanted your brain, your mind of all that marketing that you had already done in order to help promote it and sell it and so on and so forth. And so that just shows you the kind of value. I truly believe that smart entrepreneurs look for, I don't like to use the word shortcuts because that makes it sound negative. I like to call it smart cuts. In other words, why go back and redo what someone else has already done masterfully and laid out pretty much on a silver platter for you? And that's most definitely what John has done with his fundraising magic program. Everything that John has put out has been extraordinary. And so the fact that you're getting this whole other program, Night Magic, in addition with the deluxe is just extraordinary. Tell them what else is included with this.
Yeah, so well, I should let them know that that's a deal too.
That is a deal.
Yeah, so yeah, the Night Magic program is for anyone that doesn't do the big illusion show, definitely it's a way to maximize their chances of capitalizing on a fundraising market. And everything's in there. Yeah, I can't really can't say much more than that. It's the entire package. Everything that I put together for selling that kind of a show is in the deluxe edition. So you're kind of getting two full programs, kind of all rolled into one.
Excellent, excellent. And then you're giving $100 off on that here this
And
evening
there's a
as
hundred
well.
dollar discount to people that are in on the webinar today. So that's good, I think, Brad, till Friday.
Till Friday. Yep, absolutely, absolutely. Excellent. And I don't know if you had a slide for the with the social media package, but that is just want to mention that because we live in a world where things are often freely shared or resold, which I know our buddy Dean Henke is on here this evening, and he shares this with me, and I know John does as well. When you purchase and invest in a marketing course and a system, it's much like buying a magic trick where you buy the secret. But I'm very against and have always been publicly very against the sharing of marketing courses and products because the information contained therein is proprietary, and I don't agree when people buy it, they read it, and then they say, oh well, I'm going to make my money back and I'm going to resell it on Magic Auction or on Facebook or whatever the case might be. And so anyone who does have a bootleg copy, I guess is the ways to say it, or has a second or third hand, let's hope not third hand, but a second or third hand copy of John's original course, you are not eligible to buy that upgrade. Correct, John?
That's right. The special deal on the upgrade is for original purchasers only, and we have a complete record of everybody that has purchased the course, whether they bought it through you, Brad, or Jack
Or
Turk,
Dave,
or
Dave D, or Eric Paul, or
Dave
Dean?
E.
Absolutely. Yep.
Every owner is recorded. So, but yeah, those are the folks that really, won't need to reinvest in the entire edition. They can get all the upgrade components, and I know that I don't have a slide for just that, but I know it's on your sales page
Yep,
on the
it is on the
website.
it is on the page there. Yep, and you had I had a chance to review the all the new social media components, and man, I mean, you just laid it out so beautifully, and it's so organized. I mean, the autoresponders alone. There was actually a question about the autoresponders from Jason Garcia. You'd want to know if it is exclusively with a particular system, such as like David Farr's amazing system, and I mean, basically, autoresponders, whatever program you're using, you can load those autoresponder messages in there. Obviously, if you are an amazing system owner and you utilize David Farr's amazing system, it certainly is a phenomenal addition to, what you would be doing with keeping in touch with people, generally marketing to them. But of course, the autoresponders, you can copy and paste that into any particular program.
Absolutely, yeah. It can put it into any platform. It's the message content, basically, that's being provided. So, and you may have some editing that you want to do within those messages too. You may want to add several along the way. It's in a constant state of evolution, even at my end. So, but you're getting the most up-to-date version of those autoresponders that
Excellent.
have
Excellent.
been very successful for sponsors lately.
Question from Mr. Ryan Price in Canada, who wants to purchase it. Is Manitoba, British Columbia allowed to purchase it?
Oh yeah, we should have said that right at the outset, Brad? I continue to work the Western Canada market from BC to Manitoba, so I'm not comfortable in releasing this material at this time. That's probably not going to be a long-term commitment, but in the short term, I'm hanging on to it just for that market. And so I do offer my apologies to Ryan and anyone else in that market, but I'm just not quite making it available there just yet.
Okay. So if you are in that area, and if you are in the John's territory up there, it is unfortunately not available to you to invest in at the current time, but maybe in the future at some point.
Well, I'm not getting any younger, Brad. There'll come a day where I won't be doing it, but as I say, in the short term, I'm just hanging on to a little bit of the market that I'm still serving.
Understandable, absolutely. Let's see, a couple of questions that are popping up in here. Let me see. I know David Garrity. Hey Dave, glad to have you on here with us here. Dave Garrity wants to know, does John book these events only on a Friday night or weekend, or are they booked throughout the week as well?
That's a great question. I'm often asked that by sponsors too. What's the best day for them to hold their event? Or some of them will just simply assume that it has to be or should be a weekend date for them to do it. I work on every single day of the week. I have no statistical evidence in 35 years of doing this in all parts of this country that points to any one day of the week being any better or any worse than any other. And in fact, the benefit fundraiser that I did for my friend back in 2007 that was successful in raising almost $11,000 for his family, that was a Monday night.
Wow.
Any day of the week. It's less to do about the day of the week and all to do with people following the plan.
Very, very good. Let's see some other questions that are in here. How early do you recommend the organization start promoting the event for optimal ticket sales? From a question from Ken.
Yeah, another great question. I have my system laid out on a 6-week timetable. So 6 weeks before show date, they're starting to leak out the word of the event. It's also designed so that the entire campaign builds momentum as it gets closer and closer to show day, kind of like a rolling snowball. It just gathers and builds momentum. And that's basically what I do with my program.
Everything, I like to say that everything, first of all, I have everything that John has ever put out, and every single thing that he has ever put out has made the investment back tenfold, because I come from the school of thought, and you know, I'm not BSing anybody here. This is those of you that have you know, been followers of mine for a long time and know my philosophies and kind of my teachings and the way I approach things is I'm a huge believer in the swipe file world. And if I can basically get an inspiration from what someone else is doing, and that saves me from having to literally reinvent the wheel, and that to me is worth every penny I paid, whether I pay $1 for it or I pay, you know, $2,000 for it. And that's always the thing with John's stuff, whether, you know, it was his fundraising or his night magic, your Halloween spooktacular, or the what was it, the Thrillusion show, Stage Fright, the Thrillusion show, his Magic of Christmas program, anything that John ever put out, it was gold to me, because I could see what a real working pro was utilizing, how he was laying everything out, and it would inspire me, and it would allow me to, in some cases, use the documents that were given to me, copyright-free documents. In other cases, it was just seeing what he was doing and figuring out how I could make it work for myself, and all of that, you know, in and of itself is just, man, what a lifesaver, and what a gold mine you're sitting on when you don't have to go back and start from scratch. I mean, literally the prices, you know, that it costs to invest in these things, you sit down and try and create this stuff on your own, and, you know, we all talk about, you know, there's always only so much money to go around and so much that you can invest, and we all are working with budgets, of course, nowadays. But the thing that we can always make more of is money. The thing that we can never gain more of is time. And when you have something like this program, whether it's the basic edition or the deluxe edition that comes with his night magic, regardless of what it is that you end up going with, when you can sit down and save yourself the time by not having to stare stare at that blank computer screen or stare at a blank piece of paper in front of you trying to come up with ideas so that you can literally get something out there. As Dave D used to say, good enough is good enough. You've got to get it out there and working. And as John said, he's in the field there. He's been out there. He's been trying and testing it. It's not to say that you shouldn't try and test things yourself and see what works for you, but what an amazing advantage to be able to leapfrog ahead and literally start with not just one or two ideas, but hundreds and hundreds of ideas, and you can just pick and choose which ones you want to develop and further work with. And that's what John's doing here. He's laying it all out completely for you. All right, let me just see. We have time here for maybe just one or two more, since we are almost approaching the 2-hour mark here, and we want to be respectful of everybody's time. We appreciate you guys really being with us here this evening and bearing with the couple of technical difficulties there. Let's see. What about overseas for Jamie? He is in South America. Jamie, just click on the order button that says outside of North America, and it's slightly higher shipping fees to get all the materials. It is actually, when you get the Fundraising Magic system, I remember getting it years and years ago, and man, what a box it is, just filled with everything. So just click on the option for outside of North America orders, Jamie, and you will be able to have that shipped to South America. Not a problem at all. And Dean is commenting: barns, college labs, tents, banquet halls, floating barge, just about anywhere and everywhere. Dean is a man with road warrior stripes as well, and you never know. We that's part of the touring lifestyle. You never know where you're gonna end up. It is the fun. It is. Yeah, absolutely. It not always at the moment is it the fun of it, but when you look back, and I could fill hours and hours with the stories of venues in China and in Dubai. Well, no, Dubai was actually not too bad, but we were in an airport hangar in Dubai. But the Chinese venues with no loading dock and literally 50 Chinese locals carrying illusions up 10 flights of stairs, and I mean crazy kind of stuff. But that it is an adventure, and what a life, many years from now, when we look back on our lives, that's why we got started doing magic, because we didn't want to look back at our life and say, boy, I had a boring life sitting at a desk from 9 to 5 every day. We look back at our adventures, and I think there's no better life than that. Well, excellent. So we are gonna have to wrap things up here, guys, because like I said, we're just approaching the 2-hour mark here. If you guys do have some further questions, I'll try and get with John and give him some of the questions that were not answered here on the webinar in the chat box. I do have a record of those, and so I'll try and forward those, John, if that's all right. Maybe you could answer a couple of those, and we'll put those in the body of the email when we send out the replay to all of you guys tomorrow. Again, the offer here is on, there's 3 different levels. There is again, you'd be crazy not to take this if you own an original edition of the Fundraising Magic program. For only $97, the completely upgraded internet marketing and social media package. Again, I just got it last week from John, and it is phenomenal. Just brilliantly laid out and put together. Then there's the standard edition, which is everything all about anything you could possibly want to know about fundraising, and then there's the deluxe edition, which is everything about fundraising, plus the addition of the whole Night Magic program that you can do in addition to to all the basic stuff that's in there. And again, those $100 off coupons, it's already set up in the shopping cart, so that will work up until this Friday evening, midnight Eastern Standard Time, so technically 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And you could just go there to makemagicmoney.com/fundraising, all lowercase letters, fundraising-magic. And get those orders in. And any other questions that you guys have, feel free to just email them in. You can send them to me at brad@makemagicmoney.com, and I will make sure that we get John to answer those, and when I send out the replay tomorrow. Anything else you want to add, John, my friend, before we wrap things up?
Boy, I think we've covered a lot of bases. I would like to thank you, Brad, for all that you're doing for the magic community. I think you're probably giving a lot of people careers that wouldn't have had them otherwise. And I was fortunate that I was able to mentor under a fellow in Calgary, Mickey Hades.
Sure,
Many
sure.
people are familiar with the name. And that's kind of what makes this whole magic world go round is, the opportunity to work with, to work under, to share ideas, to gain some expertise from folks that have done it and are willing to put it out there for others to build on. So you're to be commended for doing that.
Well, thank you. I
Hopefully it's a
appreciate
long
it.
time to come.
I thank you, my friend. I appreciate it, and it is a great honor to have folks like yourself and Dean Henke, who's joining us here this evening. That to 10, 12, 15 years ago when I was, starting things out myself and, learning from all of you guys, it's a pleasure to work alongside of you now and call you colleagues and call you friends. And
The student has become the teacher.
yes, indeed. And that is the greatest thing about knowledge is that knowledge is meant to be shared and to expand and that's I've gained so much from so many people at a reasonably young age, and that's what I love so much about giving back to the magic community. I'm not personally, I'm not the idea man when it comes to reinventing magic, but I do love the marketing and business side. So I kind of look at it as that's my way to give back to the world of magic, which I hold so near and dear to my heart, and I love so much. So thank you, John, for being a part of our webinar series here this evening, and thank all of you guys for joining us here. Blair Marshall says, thanks, Brad and John, for sharing. And the upgrade is great. Jim says, thanks, guys. Great job. Dean says, nicely done. Pros all the way. Ken says, thanks, Brad, for hosting this. Absolutely. David Garrity says, thank you. Or along. Awesome info. Thanks a lot. New Zealand says, thank you from Steve. Excellent. Well, thank you guys all for joining us here this evening. John, I'll, of course, be in touch with you with some of the other questions that folks have had. And if any of you have any questions that have not been answered yet, again, just feel free to drop us an email with those, and we will do our best to get those. And don't forget, this offer will expire this coming Friday, the 21st of February, so make sure to get those orders in. You will not regret it. You will have a literal gold mine on your hands. So that is going to wrap us up here this evening. I hope wherever you are, you have an awesome evening, or if you are on the other side of the country, I hope you have an awesome day ahead of you, or excuse me, the other side of the world, rather, for our folks down under. Have an awesome rest of the day, and I thank you for joining us here at MakeMagicMoney.com and the new Magic Marketing Center 3.0. On behalf of John Kaplan and the Fundraising Magic Program and everybody else here at MakeMagicMoney.com, thank you, and don't forget to do what you love and love what you do. Good night, everybody.